All right. So good day, everybody. It's Lonely Go 112358. Peace. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it so very, very, very much. I really do. Sorry for the interruptions and the long delay. My first time bringing somebody on Hangouts. But today we have a very special program. A special guest, Stasha Eriksen. All right. Been a big fan of hers. I've seen Stasha probably since day one, since I've been affected 2 years ago. She's been around. I've seen her avatar videos. Stasha Eriksen is a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, an ME researcher, a spiritual teacher, a biblical scholar, and an author. She's put together 3 of her very own books, which we'll be talking about in the program very shortly. She offers readings and services and healing and spiritual guide. Thank you very much, Stasha. This is my first time actually, I've had guests on before, but I'm still trying to introduce people, get used to this. So thank you very much for joining.
Well, welcome, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm so glad we finally got to make this work.
Indeed, it's been a very long time. I know we've talked to each other on emails a lot, but never anything solid where we never actually talked to each other. It's just been...
No. This morning was the first time we've ever talked face to face, so it was really exciting, and it's nice to connect with other people who I followed their work as well. And yeah, when I started making these videos was like September of 2016, and yours were some of the first ones that I found, along with like Money Bags and Harmony Mandela Effect. It was really just your 3 channels that I kind of found in the beginning that I went to for a lot of my information. So it's really nice to finally get a chance to talk with you and to see that we have all the same subscribers and the same people and the same support system. It's really cool. We really do have this lovely little close-knit community that I'm really proud to be a part of.
Yeah, that's great. And I try and people are like, it's very hard to say this. I try and get people to observe who's on whose channels. Who do you see repeating over and over on different channels? And that's how you know things are correct and right, you know, and how things are smooth in the community. So to see that we both have the same viewers and same ideas, because we talked about this earlier. If you look in the chat section now, there's so many denominations of a system of beliefs, but we've still managed to come together respectfully. And with the same crowd, it's amazing. Good observation. Nice one.
Yeah. Oh, someone said they're reading my first book right now. Well, that's interesting. You're reading while watching a live stream. You're really good at multitasking.
Seriously. Yes. I remember when I first became affected, there was a lot of people that I went online and I just saw every denomination just hitting hard. It's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And then there was very few channels where they embraced all of it, like every idea. They weren't just pushing one thing. And I felt yours was doing that very well, because I was looking over your channels on your videos, and you covered a lot of things, not just one thing. But
no, I try not to put myself in a box too much. You know, it really limits where you can take your research, and really limits what could be possible theories. You know what I mean? And I've always tried to stay very open-minded especially when it comes to theories and stuff like that.
Yeah, theories, you got to be like, hey, I'm just observing stuff. It's just a theory, guys. Just a theory.
Exactly.
Because theories, you know, you could pick apart later. For me, I'm always like, I approach it, I'm like, this is what I'm thinking now. If you could disprove it or add to it where it changes the information, then I'm all with it. You know, as long as it makes sense, you know, and there's no fear in it, you know, and there's no end game where everybody dies or else. You do this or else, you know, it's like, oh. So.
Totally.
But definitely. So theology. So like I was saying to you earlier, I'm very new to everything. So you study theology, which is the study of all religions, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I started by learning Christianity first, and then the deeper I got into my degree program, because it was a biblical scholar, like bachelor's degree. After I did a couple of years of Christian theology, then I had to learn every world religion after that. So I had to read the entire Quran. I had to read the Bhagavad Gita. I had to read the Babylonian Talmud. You name a religious text from any background, I had to also become an expert in that. And that really helped me a lot with the Mandela effect research, especially when it came to like biblical changes and things of that nature. Because I had a lot of people in my classes that I could bump these things off of, like, how do you remember the Lord's Prayer? Or what do you remember about Isaiah with the lion and the lamb? And so I got a lot of mixed feedback and a lot of mixed emotions, and had my hands on every Bible that I could find. I have multiple versions of the Bible here in the house, and I would find some of them had changed, some of them hadn't. Some of them, one or two changes would be there, but not others. My husband's Norwegian, and we had all his Norwegian Bibles, and we started reading through those. And we noticed that like every single Norwegian Bible had all the new Mandela effect changes in them, but we couldn't find any of the old ones. So I was really stuck on the Bible changes for about a year, just like trying to figure out what went wrong. So that was really interesting.
Do you agree or concur that there are changes in the Bible, or is it coupled with that people are just, there's so many versions that, you know, it's like, no, it was said in this version, but not that version. Like, what is your stance on the Bible changes?
I believe there's absolutely been changes. I do subscribe to the fact that, of course, there's going to be different versions of the Bible. We have like not even just the KJV, you've got the NKJV, you got the NIV. There's like all these offshoots of the Bible now. So of course there's going to be some slight variations, but the ones that changed, they were just so blatantly changed, you know, like the debts and debtor thing still just drives me crazy. I mean, it doesn't even make sense to include something like debt in the All Father prayer. You know, that's kind of what they call it in Ireland, is like the All Father. You're not going to say, oh, Father, you know, please forgive all my medical bills and you know, my student loan. Yeah. Right. So stuff like that was just weird. And the symbolism of like the lion and the lamb or these things, it changes the whole tone of the scripture. Mm-hmm. And so if you're reading it, you know, out of context, you know, it could sound normal, but when you're reading it in context and you're reading the whole entire chapter, not just reading the one verse that changed, you'll notice how the whole tone of the entire book itself will definitely look as though it's been manipulated, because it could be a lighter tone and then suddenly it goes to dark. Yeah. So it makes the most sense to me if there is some type of nefarious energy behind the Mandela effect change, that of course the first thing they would do is start attacking religious text. Mm-hmm. Now, what I wasn't able to figure out, because I didn't get deep enough into the other religions besides reading their book, was I didn't ever find out if there had been changes like in the Talmud or in the Quran or in some of these other books. So to me, I don't know if other people have looked into that, but that's what would really fascinate me, is to see, has this attack gone beyond just Christianity? Is it other religious texts as well? So that's one thing I haven't discovered yet, but I really want to kind of cross that bridge someday. So you were just saying you had to study multiple different types of religions, and one of them you had to touch up on the Quran, and you just mentioned it. So I'm going to assume that you didn't read up enough on the Quran to even have any type of saying on if it's changed or not, you know, right? Is that correct? Right. Yeah. Until it was presented to me in the class, you know, I of course had heard of the Quran and had seen bits and pieces on documentaries, but I hadn't read it prior to the Mandela effect. So I don't know if it is changed from how it was before. So that would be really interesting to find if there are any Muslim people that watch your videos and know if they have found any changes. I think that'd be really interesting. I haven't seen one comment really, like, I'm not saying I've seen every comment, of course I haven't, but I haven't seen one comment or one video of someone saying they're from Islam or they're Muslim and they see the Mandela. You know what I mean? I could say this probably for almost every faction out there. It's a very weird thing. It only seems like that there's a handful of factions and system of beliefs that are seeing this, but this could all be due to access of information or communication as well, because we know China to be very segregated with their YouTube, and we don't have the same. They don't use Google. They have their own Google. I know. It's so weird. Like within their own country, all their information. It's like a little world in China. That creeps me out. That's something else we're going to talk about in a moment, which is 1984. But it's very. I
I expected this a little bit, but not to the degree we're seeing it at. Like, we can't even get someone to talk about the Quran, which is incredible because it's almost bigger than Christianity. And in this day, I'm talking about time because it's a growing religion, right? Like,
it is. It's one of the fastest growing religions of the modern world. Like within the past 10 years, there's been more of a rise of conversions to Islam than any other religion.
Yeah, it's surpassing Christianity, which is like, at first that kind of creeped me out, you know. I'm like, but I stepped back because I'm not even from religion. Like, a lot of my viewers already know this. I'm from the outside looking in, going, "Wow, this is incredible." As if the Quran is that popular. I had no idea. But when you look at the diversity of the world, and you're like, well, there's a whole nother world with billions of people, and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. So, but it amazes me that there's no channel out there going, yeah, I'm Muslim, and this is what's happening with the Quran and the Mandela effect. That blows my mind, because we have this Muslims living in North America. You know, they have the same access to the things that you and I have, and everybody else in the chat section has to. So where are they? What's going on? What's your theory on that?
You know what? Well, I've got a few of them. If we go on the nefarious side of things, many people believe that, well, we'll just say the Quran is kind of an evil book. If you've read it, and I don't want to say that to offend anybody, but if you've read that book, it's really dark. I mean, so is the Bible, don't get me wrong, but it's really dark, and it seems very, very, very controlled. And there's a lot of people that believe that the Quran could be linked to some type of like black magic, or, you know, this old witchcraft, if you will. And if those books were created by, let's say, wizards or warlocks, or people who are really, even like the old alchemists and stuff, are really kind of linked to a lot of the stuff, they might have been able to protect their book, if you will. There's certain words, there's certain symbols, there's different ways that people can, like a witch or a wizard, if they were going to create something, could put a symbol on it, like a symbol of protection. So I wonder if perhaps this text, and also the Babylonian Talmud, which is another one that is very powerful and strange, those ones, if they're not, if they haven't been changed, I believe those books may have some level of protection over them where they cannot be manipulated. Whereas in the Christian texts have been rewritten, revised, changed so many times, and it's passed through so many different hands, that I feel like perhaps the Christian book is a little more open to be attacked, if you will. And if these other guys knew that at some point in the future, somebody or something nefarious would try to change the tone of the world, and they're like, okay, well, we better make sure these books are protected, and they're not going to get changed by this future shift or whatever. And again, it's just a theory, but I know there's a lot of like wizardry and witchcraft and rituals and things like this mixed into both the Talmud and the Quran. So if that's the case, and if someone did plan this whole thing we're seeing, they might have known ahead of time this was going to change, and they found a way to kind of protect their literature.
Wow, it's very interesting.
It's super deep. It's really deep, but that's the only one I can come up with.
Okay, no, that's great, and it ties in everything, and that's the important thing. Because there's nothing far-fetched about it, because everybody's got similar ideas, and as long as we're not, it's tough, because when people have channels, they're going to have a lot of viewers, and they're all from different denominations, different belief systems, and all this stuff. It's really hard to say or have an opinion without offending people. So, and the great thing about this community is that, and I see this, especially from Christians too, which is awesome, is that they're like, okay, you do what you got to do. You believe in that's great. Right. You stand back and watch, and that's great. And you see a lot of people on this channel, the viewers, do that. And it's great to be able to say this stuff without being attacked. But I'm sure, like both of us, every channel has been attacked big time for having an opinion, because I believe with all my heart, all these comments that we say, and guys, this is for people who are making channels in the future, is that when you hear comments like, oh, you're a sellout, you're a shill, you're this, you're that, oh, you're doing this for money, those types of comments, are from people like, I don't like to call them trolls, but they're designed to do that. They're not true comments. They don't reflect what you're doing. It's like, yeah, we're content creators. We like to make a little bit of money. But you could check how much money we make. It's nothing. I could go get a job at the fruit store and make more money than this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous. So it's great to see everybody here, but I just want to let everybody know, when you hear these troll comments, don't take them personally. Just delete them, get rid of them, because it shuts a lot of people down. It doesn't shut me down. I was telling everybody, I played video games with kids when I was growing. My skin is thick. It's gonna take a lot to hurt me, but some people are way too sensitive. So good on you for speaking.
I think a lot of those may also be AI generated comments. The more I've learned about artificial intelligence and these algorithms that they use.
Yes.
And I think a lot of those were designed to weed those of us out that are going against whatever YouTube's top trending topics are. And usually their trending stuff has nothing to do with anything deep or, important. It's just entertainment. It's distraction. I've seen stuff that borders on like child pornography that's allowed on YouTube, yet we can't speak our mind. It's like there's definitely a deeper agenda going on with that. So I used to really let it get to me. I've had my YouTube channel since 2012, and then I've taken down hundreds of videos out of weakness in the past because of people judging me. And now I go back and I'm like, why did I delete that? I should have just stayed strong. So now my content only begins at like 2014, because for the first 2 years I was on, it was just daily attacks every single day. So you really do have to have thick skin to keep this work going and have a YouTube channel. I don't think people realize how much courage you really need to hit record and put yourself out there and put yourself out to be attacked. It's really, really tough, but it's.
I totally believe the computer generated comments, and we all know this now, most comments come from people with zero video, zero content. They block everything on their channel. And I just went through this last night. I had to remove some comments and I check out their channel, and they don't do anything themselves. I'm just like, oh, the comment, simple sentence, simple insult. And I'm like, I wonder if this is a true person. Like, I sometimes still respond. I'm like, am I talking to somebody? Because they never respond back. You know what I mean? They never talk back. Most of them are just, it's one comment. You're like, oh, really? Tell me your idea. And then you wait a week. You don't hear anything from them. You know what I mean?
And they have such a mouthful when they come to you, but then they have no defense. So I've seen plenty of that. My block list is much longer than my subscriber list. I'll put it to you that way.
Well, it's a lot different for a female too, in this world. I couldn't even imagine the bombardments of emails or messages you must get.
I thank God all the time that I'm married, so at least half the people won't try to do anything inappropriate with their comments. I'm always talk about my husband, bring him on my live stream. I'm always trying to let people know, please don't even try to go there in that department. You can attack me and call me a witch or say I'm uneducated or stupid or whatever other insult you have, but just don't get inappropriate, So I've been pretty lucky that I don't have too much inappropriate stuff coming my way, but just a lot of mean words, like just whatever you could think of to make me feel bad is what people will come at me with. So sometimes it makes me step back a little bit from YouTube, which is why I went from doing like daily videos to weekly videos, and now I do monthly videos. It's kind of sad.
I went the reverse. It's so weird because, and that's a perfect example of how maybe, I wouldn't say digress, but you're like, you know what, I've got a life. I'll just go do my own things and I'll leave you guys up to it, YouTube. I'm like, oh, you threw a rock at me and it made me bigger. I'm like, now I'm going to make 4 videos. And now you're throwing boulders at me. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm going to do live streams. And now you're throwing mountains at me. And I'm like, okay, good. Now I'm going to do 5 live streams a week. You know what I mean?
But that's awesome.
It's so easy, but anyway, I don't want to go through that. Let's talk about, because you had made a video yourself. We both made a video on 1984, not related to each other, but I was just like, I read this book, and I read it about 3 or 4 times in my 20s. And the last time I read it, I was in Toronto at a bus station waiting for the bus between 12 a.m. and 8 a.m. and it was not fun. It was winter, but I was reading it, and I remember that night reading this whole book, not the whole book, but a lot of the book. And I'm like, wow, that's a messed up life. Now this is happening, and it took me about 4 or 5 months to be like, oh my God, this is Mandela effect. This sounds just like 1984. This sounds
Yeah.
exactly like, and even before Mandela effect, that we were just talking about China and how they're very isolated to themselves. That's very 1984ish. We
Yes.
now have places on this continent called Eurasia and East Asia, and I'm like, no, those are fictional names, but no, they're real names now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Eurasia thing. That is in 1984. You're absolutely right. That's
Yeah.
super weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so weird. And I had someone email me about that actually, which made me make that video on 1984. And then you made one on 1984 as well. So do you see a huge connection to this? Or do you think George Orwell was trying to throw us a bone or something about, do you think it was about Mandela or the New World Order, or maybe both?
I think they are possibly connected. I think this is all part of this big end game thing. And as Christians would call this is like the time of the great deception, where everything starts to be changed. You know, everything we used to believe one way will now be something else. They also, I think at one point called it something like the war of words, not like war of the worlds, but war of the words, where people are constantly, you know, disagreeing with each other. It's that, another word would be like the contrarian spirit, where everyone's always doing the something contrary to what you're saying. So if you're saying, oh, it's always been like this, no, 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 it hasn't. It's always been like this. So I think this has kind of been almost pre-planned. And I think George Orwell, he was either a prophet, he could see into the future, or he could have been a time traveler, or he could also have been one of these guys that were in on it, if you will, and knew it was coming. You know, another way they make these things happen is by creating a book, putting it out there, and then it's like a vision board. So if everybody reads these books over and over again, then it's kind of like a spell. I mean, to write words, to write words is called spelling, right? That is a spell. Words themselves and phonetics were created to confuse people. This goes back to the Tower of Babel and all this stuff, where we used to have universal symbols, and then it became words and languages, and then we got really divided. So I think there's a level where someone or something is trying to control the narrative of what happens to planet Earth. Also, another perfect example of that is the book of Revelations. That entire book is this whole like telling of how the end times is going to unfold, and this is going to happen for 7 years, and then that's going to happen. So if everybody's reading this Revelations book over and over and over and over and over again, it's like a spell. It's going to happen. And what's really interesting about the book of Revelations that I learned while being in theological school is that that book was actually added way later after the original Bible. And it was created around the time of the Council of Nicaea in Constantine. And he kind of did this whole fake conversion to Christianity thing. And that's when the Spanish Inquisition started. And so I feel that whole ending to our story was added later to almost project into the future what would happen. And now look at all the people who are Christian that are just scared to death. They're either waiting for the end and they can't wait, or they're scared for their life and they're stockpiling food for like 7 years, and we call like doomsday preppers or whatever. So I think there's been like a big part of this that's being controlled. It's just like mind control too. You know, I feel someone is controlling our narrative. And for those of us that like see the Mandela effect, I believe that those of us that can see it, perhaps we're able to kind of break this programming or break this spell. And it's kind of up to us to help save the world, if you will.
You know, that's I like that. I haven't thought about that idea in a while, and I'm really glad you brought that up, and I had to write it down. But words are spells, and I totally. Oh, there's my cat Fuzzy. Words are, she loves live stream. Words are spells, and I believe that. I just never thought about taking it to like how, because I'm on the outside. I don't know nothing about life and like how the religious parts, witches, priests, like all this stuff. I'm just like, I hear people talking, I'm like, oh, what? It's very interesting that you're saying spells and words are spells, and when people read books, because basically for me, when people are like, what do you think of when you think of witch or that type of that lifestyle, I'm like, well, I see people reading stuff and then doing chants and with their wands or whatever, their tool, and then creating something, you know, like, so when you say 1984, it could have very well been a trick, like a, you know, a trick to get us all to read something, to create, you know, a universe that didn't exist. But if you get enough people reading this stuff, then recreate it, because that would make a lot of sense what you just said there, because a lot of people believe that we create our world to a certain point. We create everything. If you want to live in a positive world, you're going to do that. Now, there may be some circumstances to that, of course, but for the majority of people, if you're going to be, if they're happy, it's because they're doing happy things in their life. They tend to take on things in their life that they do repeatedly over and over. So that to them is their own spell cast. You know what I mean? But it's a spell cast of love, enjoying life. So that's what I feel like I was. I feel like, you know, I never got to read any books. I never was into church. I never was into any books at all. I don't read books. I do a lot of listening. I do a lot of watching. So when you said that, I was like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And then you ended it perfectly with, maybe we get to see it because we're here to help. And I'm like, yes, that might be it, man. Because you know, I'm reading Revelations now. It's a very tough book to read. You know, it's like the whole book itself, the Bible, is very tough to read, and I have a hard time deciphering it. But I see the both good and bad. And when you said people are reading this and now they're scared, the Christians, I see that too, because it has nothing to do with being a Christian. Because I sat here in my basement, I have 4 or 5 5-gallon containers full of water. I've got dry foods. I've got all this stuff. And I'm in the same boat with the scared Christians or anybody. Everybody's scared. And I still have them, but I lead a life of positive. I just have that just in case, but I don't focus on it. I'm like, love, guys, listen, the Mandela something's positive. I know we're seeing a lot of shit.
No, but that's good just to be prepared in general, because anything could happen, especially if these guys, their plans are going to be carried out, then these things will happen. And even when, you know what actually happened that I just remember now was that around the time of the election of Donald Trump, people started comparing Donald Trump and some characters in the book, you know, to 1984. And then at some point around this time, Amazon actually sold out of 1984. And when everyone started hearing, oh, 1984 is connected to Trump, everybody go out and buy this book because it means he's going to be, you know, the dictator that ends the world. So Amazon sold out completely of 1984 for about 6 months. So there's another trick. If they wanted us to read that book, then the whole world went out. And you can Google it. Amazon sells out in 1984. It was like headlines for 6 months. You couldn't even get a used copy. It was crazy. So there's another link in the chain. Right around when he was getting elected. It was either right before he was elected or maybe right after. I think it was after, because everyone was afraid that when he was elected that, you know, the world was going to end and this was going to bring in the New World Order. And I can't remember all the specifics of it. But yeah, it would have been around November 2016, I think. So that's really interesting, huh?
That is very interesting. And I haven't read that book. I've also, I fight ideas like that. I'm like, oh, so when I was done reading the book, I was like, so you want to take me over? You want to fuck with my mind? You want to do this? I was like, I don't think so. I was like, I'm not allowing that. But I would, you know, like, as if I'm going to not allow that. But having that mindset alone stops that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being aware. So at the time, I had no idea about New World Orders and stuff. I was just like, wow, that was a scary book. And I don't approve of that life, and I don't want that to happen. I remember thinking these things.
Right.
But I never went around.
I think your intention.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think your intention is really important, like you said earlier. Like if you're going to be like, oh, and let something control you, then you're kind of giving up. But like, even if you have stuff in your basement and whatever, it's like, it doesn't mean that you're living in a negative outlook. I think you probably expect the best more than you probably expect the worst.
Oh yeah, I expect. Well, I mean, I think that things on this planet are happening. Look at the weather. How do I know that weather pole is not going to knock over the water tower down in my house? And you know, like, I'm not saying you know, like that's just a localized thing. That's what I'm preparing for. The electricity to go out for 2 days or 3 days. I want to be able to have safety things, but I'm not sitting there going, "Oh my God, I just read Revelations and I'm, you know, we're gonna die." But
I like that we keep saying revelations too, because I will not say revelation.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. It's plural. It's natural.
Yeah, it should be plural, and it was always plural, but now it's not. So what can you do?
I know. And Scarab put out a video saying how it used to be spelt reveal-ations. Now it's just revel, like rebel.
Oh.
Do you have any input on that?
No, I would think I'm kind of a spelling nerd, and I think it's always been rebel.
Yeah.
But again,
yeah, I got lots.
Scarab might very well be from a different reality to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are from different places. I don't know. It's weird, but I agree with
that. Gives us a lot of good content, though.
Yes, yes, but I believe in the end game that those who see it, there's one of two things. You're either here to make a channel and help, or you're supposed to sit in the trade chat, that I call it trade chat, but the chat section, and comfort each other. You know what I mean? I mean, there's only so much to do, or if you have power in this world, to use that power to sway people towards the good. But I'm with you on that. We're here because, and we get to see because we're here to help. I believe that big time. I try not to toot my own horn, though. It's so weird to say that, you know, I don't like doing that at all. But very good.
You are, and that's why I watch your channel. Do you know how many Mandela Effect channels there are? And honestly, I'm probably only subscribed to like 5 of them.
Oh, thank you very much. That means a lot.
I mean, I was at first kind of subscribed to everybody, and then I'm really good at observing, and I would watch the kind of narrative and what I felt the agenda was of some of these channels, and I did not find integrity behind them. I felt something was hidden beneath a lot of these channels, so I really only legitimately watch like 5 other, like including yours, like 4 others, honestly, because it's just so much static out there, and a lot of people are just jumping on bandwagons and repeating what other people do. I'll see one person that puts out a video, and then I'll see the next like 5 people repeat that same person's video in the same day. You know, it's like, come on.
There was a time that was happening. There was this little window where that was happening, and I think I stopped for about a month when that was happening. I was like, oh, okay, I'm stopping. This is getting ridiculous. It's just about putting videos up. And one of my very first videos, and I always pride myself on this, I was like, guys, you know, I'm just some dude. I just want to put this puzzle together. Let's do this. You know, I don't want to. And I tried covering animals and insects, and I pulled away. I couldn't do it because, well, many reasons. One, they weren't leading anywhere. But I feel that we need to experience Mandela for a while before we can actually even put it together. So like, oh my God, I got the Mandela. We need answers now. I'm like, no, we need to experience Mandela for a while. Then we can slowly start piecing it together. I started putting out videos recently of how I feel the Earth is younger. And it kind of makes sense with the body and where the continents are. And like now we're seeing animals that used to be extinct. Now they're here. Our bodies are different. The density is different here. We're closer to Orion's belt, or Orion, the center of the galaxy, I mean.
It almost seems like we're on a cloned Earth. That makes sense.
It is clone or multiple. I really don't know what to call it. I'm very limited with languages.
Yeah, like if it's new and it seems new and everything's a little bit the same but a little bit different, that's usually how they describe the cloning process.
Oh,
so yeah.
Look at Eminem.
They could look identical. Yeah, don't get me started. Don't get me started on clone celebrities. I'm from Hollywood, remember? I'll be here all day.
Yeah. It's Eminem. Eminem is probably like,
who the hell is that guy?
He's got a beard now. He's got a beard.
And he cannot rap at all anymore. His flow is terrible now. Like terrible.
Yeah. It's
oh Lord.
The flow, the rapping, the content, but that's to go with this world. I believe the physical world is going to hell. Like, I don't mean hell, like hell. Yeah. I believe it's being slowly deteriorated, the materialistic world and that, while the love of the world is slowly seeping through. You know what I mean? It's going to take some while, but when evil is about to be defeated, it goes out kicking and screaming. It's not going to be like, okay, we give up, we submit. No, it's going to use everything it's got at the end. It's going to kick and scream. That's how I feel, you know, like you see at the end of those movies, or those war movies or horror movies, I mean, when they're getting the monsters and the monsters kicking and screaming at the end, they got to get into a trap like Ghostbusters, and that monster's just, I'm going to kill you now. Does everything it can. I feel that's what we're going through now, you know, and it's going to get a little bit uglier, and people are going to be like, how are you so positive? I was like, I don't know. It's just, I grew up with negative shit almost on a daily, but I managed to deflect it immediately and be like, nah, yeah, I know that was racism, but I'm just going to walk away, and just walk away. You know, I don't try and devise a plan to get even with people. I'm not like, oh, I know where this person lives, and I'm going to grab my 3 friends and kick the shit out of him because he was racist. I don't think like that. I'm like, wow, I feel sorry for them, and wow, that was shitty. And of course, it hurts my feelings.
It's true. And it feels like this last election in America was a really good example of that. I've never seen such a crazy response and this outrage and these riots and people condoning rioting and condoning, you know, lighting things on fire and blowing up buildings and beating people. And it's like, it feels like all this end game stuff. And, you know, it just feels like like you said, at the end, they try to pull out all their dirty tricks, or, you know, or Kanye West is a great example. What's happened to him the last couple of weeks. You know, he was somebody who was always so outspoken. I used to live in Chicago. I know a lot of people that grew up with him. I know a couple of his cousins. He was such an open-minded, did not care what people thought.
You know Kanye's cousins?
I know 2 of them. But it's, you know, it's like he was a totally different guy. He would never let anybody tell him what to do. And then it was like right after the election last year, he was on his tour and he came out talking about Donald Trump, and like in the middle of his show saying, you know what, I didn't vote this year, but I probably would have voted for him just because I see how crazy everybody's acting on this other side. I don't want to be on this other side with all of y'all. Yeah. And then the next day, his wife and his mother-in-law put him in a mental hospital, and he was missing for like 4 months. And now he's back again, and he ran on the TMZ ranting again. But if you really listen to what he was saying, it was talking about how we're not allowed to have independent thoughts anymore. Yeah. When did it stop being okay to be a leader? And now everyone's a freaking follower. And I'm worried for him right now because he's running around again speaking truth. And so if he's been mind controlled before this and they can't control him now, I feel like even these celebrities are trying to break out of their programming and just get out whatever they know and just try to share what they can, because, you know, they'll probably be the next clone. And that's just how it is. They're trying to take everybody down who has an ounce of independent thought outside of the narrative on CNN or whatever.
Or if they're breaking their shell, you know, they're their handlers, you know, they're breaking away from their handlers. And
exactly.
I was into clones and into handlers and stuff like that, and then I got away from it because it was too much. It was too much to believe in, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but it's hard to deny the appearance of the 2, there's 3 of them: Eminem, Dr. Dre, and Dave Chappelle. I'm like, these guys have been so cloned that it's ridiculous. Like, this isn't plastic surgery. This isn't, oh, Dr. Dre started lifting weights. This isn't, Eminem grew a beard. I'm like, no, these are different bodies. These aren't.
Oh, yeah.
I feel all these people died already, and they just kept their ego or their the idea of them going because they generate millions of dollars in influence, and this is important. They also probably tried to break free at one point, and they said, "Oh, you're trying to break free? Kill, and then just replace with a clone." You know, it's hard to deny that stuff. So
yeah, it's like Gucci Mane too. Gucci Mane, total 360. Hillary Clinton. How many different Hillarys have we honestly seen? That 9/11 thing where she drops dead like in front of 9/11 building, and then they drag her into the thing, and she's fine the next day. Like, or she came out as another woman 2 hours later that gained weight. It was just. It's just so weird. And my first book actually is called Diary of an Asset. And I wrote a lot about MK Ultra, cloning, and mind control in that book because it's not a conspiracy theory. MK Ultra and these programs were created in the 1940s around World War II. Really, a lot of it was created by the Nazis to help control the other camps that they would be fighting against. They could use certain drugs. They could use certain hand signals, certain colors on uniforms, symbols, to control people at will. And then later, when they saw how well it was working on soldiers, they said, oh, let's try using this on celebrities. So one of the first people that was actually mind controlled was was Marilyn Monroe. And we've seen how many changes there have been, Mandela effects about her. And then other celebrities, they've kept these programs going since then. But this is absolutely real. If people think it's a conspiracy, they just got to open a book and do a little research. And it's not a conspiracy at all.
The Marilyn Monroe thing is huge. And she's just looking different every time I see her. I don't know much about her other than she was this blonde bombshell. And it's funny because like that famous move she has where the vent, you know, and the air is blowing up her dress. I thought she invented that, but I found a tech before its time. I do tech before its time videos, and I found a video in like 1896 of a girl walking down the sidewalk and then having the air blow up in the vent and picture perfect, just like Marilyn Monroe. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought that was a Marilyn Monroe thing, you know? Yeah. And
oh my God, that's crazy. I'm like, I have books of her all over the place. And
like, did she invent that move?
There was like a whole part of one of these books. I don't know. I have biographies up the yin yang about this woman, but I know there was a story somewhere in this book where she talks about how that happened was really accidental. And then one of her managers, she had a manager that was a woman, Natasha Lytess, I think was her name. And she told her like, Marilyn, get to the side. Your dress is going to blow up. And she was like, no, I'm just going to go with it. And she went with it in that moment. So if that existed beforehand, that's really weird. One other thing I noticed, you know how her moles moved around a lot?
It's like that movie. What movie is that from? Where the mole moved?
I used to have the piercing here, the Marilyn piercing. I still have the scar. And then I looked on this book. I've had this book for like 30 years. And I looked on the front. I don't know if you guys can see this. But now she has no mole.
What?
No mole. No mole at all. Yeah,
that's her famous trademark, is her mole.
Now she has no mole. And I found the name change that happened the other day where her name used to be Norma Jean, Jean, and now it's Jeane. And I found a book. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's pretty small, but the lyrics to Elton John's song, Candle in the Wind, it's spelled Jean. And then I went to the top of the book, and right up here, they spelled it Jeane. So I have a change on the same page of the same book.
Wow.
So that definitely proves her name change.
Yeah, you got it right there. You got residual on the same page, let alone
on the same page. Yeah, so I don't know what's up with the Marilyn thing, but if this has something to do with mind control, then of course she would probably be one of the first ones that would be affected or that we'd see a lot of changes by. Because it hasn't been one or two things, it's been multiple things. The way she looks, now you're saying the dress scene, her mole is moving all over the place, now her name has changed. And she's somebody that I've studied for many years because that's one of the people I plan to write an autobiography about one day, is about her, because a lot of her biographies are just wrong. And so I think she was definitely murdered and definitely taken out. And I think that could be why she's being changed too. I think if anybody was really part of one of these projects or somebody that they had a real agenda for, then maybe they'd start changing those people first. I don't know. Because some celebrities aren't changed at all.
Yeah, maybe it's not their time yet. Like there's just so much to change, right? Like,
yeah,
their time hasn't shown up yet. In the link in the chat section right now, I just put a link up there to the video where this lady's walking down the sidewalk in 1896 and has the exact same Marilyn Monroe scene where she's walking with a gentleman, then all of a sudden she walks over a vent and she does the exact same thing.
Oh my God. I'll put it in my watch later here so I don't mess up the sound.
Yeah, watch it later and let me know what you think. Okay. It blew a lot of people's mind. I'm like, isn't that a Marilyn Monroe thing? Didn't she discover that? How is this now 60 years before Marilyn Monroe? And this is a thing now. And are there even air vents in 1896? Just like going through so many.
Oh, yeah. Wait, that's weird. I didn't think about that part. Yeah, those tech before its time things just freak me out, man.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. And I've come to the conclusion from everything I've seen, it's only like 10, 20 years ahead. They're not like light years ahead of us. It's just they discovered photography 10 years before us. So they were, advanced that much quicker than we were. I find this world is very fast too. I find like a lot of inventions are hastily or like things are just done a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why, maybe the production rates a little faster here. That's why we're seeing everything 10 years before. But yeah, definitely check that out. It's gonna shock you. It's gonna.
I'll be making a video.
I mean, when I saw a lady that happened to a lady, I went, "Is this time traveling? Like, are they fucking with us?" Like, it really bothered me. That one really bothered. Not to a sense where I'm scared. It's just, wow, what do they know? What do they know?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Give that a shot. All right, let's talk about your books. So you got 3 books out here. Your first book, well, you said your first book that you wrote was Diary of an Asset, right? Memoirs of a Psychic Spy. Let's talk about that one first. You just already mentioned it first, but when did you write this one?
I wrote that one in 2016. It was like May of 2016. And it's actually kind of it really is like a memoir, because it's actually my awakening story in a way. I created a character named Sophia Snow because I didn't want it to be a little bit too personal. But I would say 80% of that book was actually true stories and true events that happened in my life.
Nice.
And yeah, it kind of started, my background, for those people who don't know, is I'm from Southern California. I grew up like in Hollywood, California, and I used to be an actress, a singer, and, you know, do all this stuff. And then I started working behind the scenes and became a casting director. So I was working behind the scenes in just reality shows. I wasn't working like in really big productions or anything like that, but I was casting, you know, all the reality shows everybody watched back in like the 2005 through 2010s. And yeah, nothing I'm proud of.
I never watched
that was, to be honest, I didn't either. When I was done, I didn't want to even see the work I'd done. But you know, I was really surrounded by Hollywood. I grew up in that life, and you know, that's just all I knew, was to be surrounded by celebrities and have to deal with that whole Hollywood world. And then one day I was just taking a weekend off, and I went up to go visit my dad. And I had a really, really, really crazy series of events that kind of happened to me as I was driving. He lives in Northern California and I was in Southern California, and I was driving up the whole 101 coast by myself. And I was passing through a lot of areas that are known to be very spiritual. And one of them is known as the Pyramid Lake Mountains.
Yep.
And yeah, as I was driving through there, something very strange happened where I just felt reality completely shift. And from that point on, like, I was listening to car radio. The car radio was like talking to me. It would play like, you know what I mean? Like play a song that was just meant for my thought, or something would come on the radio and tell me to do this. And it was just really weird. I was very aware that I was in a different type of reality, or that suddenly I had access to some type of a lifting of the veil that maybe other people didn't have. And during this time, and this is all real, these just one event after the other started linking together, and I started experiencing things like the Mandela effect, where I was watching television and I'm in my apartment and everything's normal. And the TV show that I'm watching is like a network show where they're not allowed to show nudity or use curse words or whatever. And then all of a sudden in the background, I was hearing curse words. And then I looked on the TV and there was like a topless girl. And this is like on regular network TV. In fact, I think it was the show like Grey's Anatomy or ER. It was like a hospital show. And then all of a sudden, like the whole tone changed. And I was like, wait, what is going on here? So then I remember running to the computer, looking on YouTube. And as I was looking at YouTube, I would just see like music, like artists, and they would have songs, but the songs wouldn't be structured like our songs would be structured. They'd just be super weird, all over the place. I'd scroll through comments to be like, does anybody else think this is weird? And I'd see the grammar changes were there. Like the word no, everybody would spell like to I know something. They'd spell IKNWO, like NWO, like New World Order. Okay. Like a period would be in the middle of a word, like the would be T.HE. Really strange things. So suddenly I felt like I had shifted to either be able to experience another reality, or that I had completely shifted to another reality. And I just started taking notes during this time because it was so weird, you know, just taking notes and taking notes. And those notes ended up turning into the book. So that book is all about mind control, MK Ultra, shifting realities, and from a perspective of somebody who literally went through it. I was just really afraid to use my own name when I wrote it. But that one's a really, really deep and heavy book, to be honest.
Well, now that you're out there, maybe you should make another book with your name in it and your experiences and add way more detail to it. That'd be a part 2. But
absolutely, absolutely. That one's kind of to be continued also. So I have to, most of the books I like to write in volumes because I feel like a story's never really told. You have to keep telling it.
Yeah, that's true. And that's the thing with like Native Americans and their tales too. They keep repeating it to a point you don't have to read it. It's just a tale. And now everybody's got a tale. Everybody has a book, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's great. That's Diary of an Asset. I'm going to leave a link to your website near the end of this program. I'm going to try and find it now so people could take a look at it. You'll be able to find her books there on this website. Let's take a look at your next book. So I'm assuming your next book, which one was it?
The second book I put out was about animal communication. It was totally on a completely different topic, and I've just always been very psychic and a telepathic communicator. I studied telepathy pretty extensively when I was about 16 or 17. And I started to be able to telepathically communicate with animals. So I wrote a whole book about that. It's actually a really short book. It's just like 100 pages. It's more of a guidebook for anybody who has animals and just want to be able to understand them a little bit better and to be able to communicate with them. So it's kind of based a lot on research and stuff like that too. But it's just another side of what I try to bring to this planet to try to help everybody from the humans to the animals, I guess.
You have a spirit beast?
Oh, a spirit animal?
Yeah, spirit animal.
Wait, is it called spirit beast in this reality? No, I'm just kidding.
I play World of Warcraft and we call them spirit beasts in there because I'm a hunter in there and I collect spirit beasts. They're very hard pets to find in the game, but I collected them all. So spirit animal. That's what I meant.
My spirit animal would be a snow owl.
Snow owl. Nice.
Yeah.
Good one. I like that one.
Well, you know, they can see everything. You know, they can see at night. They can also withstand extreme heat or extreme cold. So a woman and that can kind of get through anything is how I see myself, I guess.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So that book you were just talking about is called Animal Communication, Talk to Animals in 5 Easy Steps. All right, because I was looking at your web page and I wrote down the books in the order I saw them. So you wrote that one first, Diary first, that one second, the Animals, and then the last one you wrote is The Mandela Effect, Everything is Changing.
Yeah, I have that one here. Finally a book, guys, a real book on Mandela. Look how thick it is too. Wow. It's almost 400 pages long.
That's amazing. Like I said, and the guys are gonna leave a link in the comment section right now. Let me pull up this file here, and then you guys can take a look.
If people can just Google my name too, Stasha Eriksen. I don't think anybody else in the world has that name or has it spelled that way. You can find me a million different ways that way too. But it's writing this Mandela Effect book was just super crazy. You're in this book, Lone Eagle.
Oh, thank you. And I remember you reaching out to me and I just did not respond. I didn't understand communication. I was really bad with emails and I feel terrible for not responding, but you're writing another book too.
Yeah, actually right now I am in the process of writing volume 2 because this book, even though it was 350 pages, I went in alphabetical order for Mandela Effect. So I started with, let me see where I started with. First, just talking about the Mandela Effect and what it was and talk about Fiona Broome and all that stuff. And then I went into my own Mandela Effect journey. But then I started going alphabetical. So I started with anatomy changes. And then I went to astronomical changes. And then I got to biblical changes. And I was already at 250 pages. So I had to wrap it up there. And I did the top 10 theories that were kind of rolling around at that time and just touched on them. Okay. And again, this book is like very research based. Like if you go throughout the book, I have all the like diagrams of like the anatomy diagrams and, you know, nice. All before and after. And I also was able to get screenshots from videos like when Snoop Dogg and Larry King made a whole rap song about Jiffy peanut butter, you know, I got screenshots of that in there. Oh yeah, and you'll even see Jiffy on there. Like I did so much residual evidence hunting on this. It was insane. So some people read it and they're like, this isn't a novel. This is totally unorganized. This isn't a book. It's not meant to be a novel, you guys. This is a research project. So it's a compilation from A to Z of all the research that myself, your channel, Moneybags, anybody who kind of was doing videos back then about these topics that I went through, got permission from everybody, and would use links to their videos and their diagrams and their content and their YouTube comments or whatever, so that I could get, you know, how it organically kind of came into my lap and how it organically grew for the community. And I put it all into one book. And I don't think anybody had done that yet. There are other Mandela Effect books on Amazon, but a lot of them are more kind of science fiction based, or they're more just talking about the theory, or they have one very solidified theory when they start the book, like they believe it's the death theory, the quantum death, or they believe it's parallel reality. So it's all based from that perspective. But in this book, I'm totally unbiased, I'm totally open-minded, and I just say, hey, here it is. You guys decide what you think, you know, this is. Because I don't even know. Even to this day, 2.5 years later, I still don't know what's causing it. I don't know. If anybody says they know, they're lying. Nobody knows.
Yeah, they have ideas.
So I tried to present the research in the most unbiased way as I could, so that people could kind of decide for themselves. And since I was going alphabetically and only got to letter B, I had many other categories. Like I have book changes come next, then it's cartoons, then it's deaths, then it's et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Would have went on forever.
So these books, yeah, will continue to go on forever. So right now I'm writing volume 2, and I have a GoFundMe project, like a campaign where I've started, because this first book was actually totally published, like self-published, but totally created all by donations from people in the Mandela Effect community.
Very nice.
I don't have a publishing deal. Publishing companies aren't going to touch a topic like this with a 10-foot pole. I mean, people just laugh me out the publishing house. Yeah. So I have to do all this myself. I have to pay someone to create the cover, to format the book, to do everything, copy, edit, proofread. It's really hard to self-publish a book. So this first book was totally helped by the community. And now I have a campaign going for book 2. So if anybody's interested in being part of it, I accept people, of course, accept donations, but I also accept people to send me their own stories, their own residual evidence. They can come to my website and contact me and say, hey, I've got pictures, I've got this, I've got that. I can't do these books without the community. So that's really what I'm focusing on for this year, to help write book 2.
Oh, sounds like you need to make a video on that and talk about that.
You know yeah, I have. I've just, you know, I'm just not on as I used to be. So it's few and far between.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's a lot of work you've been doing there, especially that book. Man, I thought that, how many pages you got on that?
350.
Wow. How long did it take you to do that?
To be honest, it only took me about 5 months to write the book. I started writing it in February of last year and had it published by July of 2018. So it hasn't even yet been a year that it's been out. And I hope to, if I'm lucky, even though it's the end of May now, I hope to have the next book done sometime around July, August, or September of this year. So it'll be 1 year after the first release. But it's hard. I'm actually done with theology now, and right now I'm a full-time psychology student. I'm about 1.5 years away from being a clinical psychologist, and I'm studying abnormal patterns of the brain, mind control. This is why these are big topics and loves of mine. So on top of all this writing, I have 3 kids. My oldest is 21 this year, you guys. Okay. Wow. And I'm trying to make time to write these books. And that's really why I don't have so much time to make Mandela videos, is because I'm just extremely busy. But I have such a big love for this community that I make time. Yeah. You know, I make rather than going out and doing social stuff, I spend time sitting in, studying and writing for this community, because I feel like this is a really heavy thing. This isn't some Google trend that's, you know, floating around. This is so much deeper than that. And I really want to be a big part of helping all of us get to the bottom of it.
It's a huge thing. This is besides, you know, the creator sending down his son down to earth, you know, this is probably one of the most magnificent times on earth. You know what I mean? Like, there's 2 times I would want to be alive, for Jesus and for this, the Mandela Effect. And I can't believe I'm here for this. I'm so grateful. And I don't ever enter Mandela world with fear ever. I might be thrown off. I might have a what the hell moment. You know, I might be like, wow, I gotta step back. But in the end, I made a video on this because I took it down because I was swearing too much. I was like, F this, F that, and I'm gonna remake it. But basically, I was like, the moment Mandela happened, I knew there was a creator. I knew for a fact. The only thing I'm afraid of is losing my last breath, my physical being dying. That's the only thing I'm afraid of. I don't want to go through that mental process. But I'm not afraid of, you know, I know there's something after this, and I know for a fact. So that took off a lot of stress, and I think that's what helped me approach Mandela world without fear. And I keep making videos, and people keep trying to throw me off. I'm like, oh man, it's not going to work, guys. It's not going to work. It works for other channels. I see other channels bite the bullet all the time, and I'm like, why did you respond, man? Don't respond like that. Don't do that. You know.
Yeah.
They do, and then they get bit. And the thing is the old way is not working on this world. Like the old way wasn't working. You can't, evil begets evil. I'm a big believer of this, you know, and I'm just like, the old way wasn't working. Stop retaliating, you know. Just when people hate on me, I'm like, man, I love you. I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry we're not there. And then I have that little bit of me that's like, oh, I'm going to get you. I can't help it because I'm of this world. I'm still trying to detach from that. But
I think that's a beautiful statement. What you said, you know, the only thing you're afraid of is breathing your last breath because you won't be here to experience this. And I think that's really a beautiful thing because so many people are trying to escape this reality by, you know, just getting effed up all the time, drinking, partying, woohoo, you only live once, and all that whole mentality. And that's, you know, that's what they want everybody to be doing right now. They don't want people to stop and look around or even look up at the sky and notice the chemtrails and notice that the sun is fake, or they don't want people to think, you know, they want these drones. They want everybody on their smartphone walking around like zombies. And they don't want people to stop and think. And one of the things I would really pray for, if there is some big, you know, cataclysmic event, I think the only thing we'd probably benefit from is if technology broke for a little while. Because I think everyone is way too dependent on technology these days, and way too dependent on social media and all this stuff. And if we had to stop and learn how to do things like we did in the old days, then it would probably force everybody to learn how to be people again, help their neighbor, help your brother, go plant some, you know, seeds in your garden, learn how to like not rely on everybody else for everything, grow your own food, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't want us to be what we're meant to be. We are meant to be so much more than we are right now. And I hope I can witness a little bit of that through all this craziness.
Yeah, I definitely believe in that, that whole aspect of it. Something I wanted to see, you're talking about, I couldn't spell this right, and we're going back to the religion part with the books. You're talking about the Babylonian what?
Talmud. It's spelled T-A-L.
Yeah.
M-U-D.
Okay, what is that?
Oh God, how do you put it in?
Nutshell, please.
It is one of the Jewish religious texts. We have the Torah and we have the Talmud. And there's two different, there's actually a full divide when it comes to Judaism, which is also what people don't realize. They think that all Jews believe the same thing and read the same book, but they don't. A lot of the scriptures in the Bible that talk about those who say they're Jews, but they're really from the synagogue of Satan. And some of you all know what I'm talking about. There are those that basically pretend to be Jews, pretend to be, because Jesus was a Jew, or if we go by what the Bible says, Jesus was a Jew. But there was also this kind of divide that happened where the Jews went in two different directions. And you have the Talmudic Jews, which are known, I believe, as Hasidic Jews, that they were the very ceremonial garb where they have the curls and the black hats. And then you have those who read the Torah, which they believe they're more of the, I guess, Jesus Jews. It's really hard to kind of describe this, but I'll put it to you this way. The Torah is a very beautiful book. It's very based on like the first books of the Bible. Like the first 5 books of the Bible are very similar to the Torah, whereas the Talmud is this very, very, very dark, esoteric, almost witchcraft type of literature. And it has a lot of really dark stuff in it that basically says that anybody who's not a Jew, you're allowed to lie to them. Anyone that's not a Jew, they call us goyim. You're allowed to to lie to them, to kill them, to murder them. And that's okay. And also it has a lot of stuff in there about having sex with small children, which I don't really want to get into because it's so graphic and disgusting.
Wow. Is that the Talmud you're talking about?
Yes. And they condone sex with small children. This is like a rite of passage. And this would be men, like rabbis, being allowed to do this to both small little girls and small boys. And some of them are starting, they say like the best time to be with a little girl is before she's 3 years old. Like, it's disgusting. It's so wrong that I don't even want to talk anymore about it, but tell people to Google that.
No, it's creepy. I started getting like shaky inside. Children and that, it's nasty. It's a nasty world.
Yeah, I can't, that's what I mean. I had to read that in school and I was like crying. I mean, it was pretty bad. And there's a lot of stuff in there about Jesus. There's a big controversy on whether the Romans killed Jesus or whether the Jews killed Jesus. And this all came down to like, who turned him into what when that all happened that day. But it seems like in the Talmud, they're kind of bragging about the fact that they killed Jesus, kind of. They're celebrated in that book. So it's really dark, and it's worldwide, and there's these centers all over the world where they're practicing and reading this book. It's really scary. But yeah, that one's out there, so people should be aware of that.
Well,
there are two different Jews.
Pizzagate would fit this then. It would probably be like,
yes,
that's probably where it comes from then, right? Are these people?
Yep, exactly. And they say it's spiritual and religious, and this is how they get their power. And tell me about it. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. It was so hard for me to read it in school, and they said, my professor said, but you have to understand what other people believe, because if you don't, how can you help people in that situation, you know? And I've had people that have come to me that were Hasidic Jews, or they were raised in that life, and they want to get out of it, and they're scared, you know, but they can't tell their families that they don't agree with this, you know, because it's in a book, you know? So yeah, I didn't mean to shift the energy of here, but you asked.
No, well, it's not. We'll just touch up on it. The energy it's about information, and we have to be able to talk about everything. Yes. We don't have to get into details. And just read a couple of comments. People are like, no, don't talk about that. So we won't go there. We know what's happening. That's a big part of this channel. I don't focus on these negative things. I am totally aware of the pain children go through, women all around the world, men, animals. We don't need another channel talking about these things. What we need is a channel with resolutions, or just people to come together, or channels. We need more channels of this. So yeah, that was a little dark, man. I did not know about that. I might have saved that question for later had I known you were going to talk about that.
But that's what's so scary, is that people don't know that stuff is out there. And if we don't read what Muslims are reading, if we don't read what Jewish people are reading, if we don't read what Christians are reading, and we judge people of other denominations, then we're not doing our part, because until you understand what another person believes, you can never judge them. And that's where I've always come from, is give me all the info and then I can decide. You know, I'm very open-minded. And although I lean more towards a Christian belief system, I can't say that I'm Christian either, because I know so much about the manipulation that's happened to our Bibles. And not just in the past, but we're seeing it now with Mandela. So I held everything kind of at arm's length and just, you know, observe, treat others with respect, treat people kindly, try to put out any work I do has integrity behind it. And that's all I can do, is my own part. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, man, I'm just gonna jump on chat just for a sec. I want to see if anybody's asking you questions. Ladies, this part here. If anybody, you guys want to ask questions, or if you just want to say something, type in at Lone Eagle. I'll probably be on for another 20 minutes or so, but just let me scan up here, because some people are like, Lone, check this out, and they just totally forget about it.
I saw a lot of people asking me stuff, but I was too distracted, so I couldn't keep up with that. I'm so low tech, really. But I do see a lot of my subscribers, a lot of people saying hello to me. So hi, everybody.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Me and Lone Eagle together, we're both low tech, so it's a miracle we got this going here today. I love being low tech. I don't ever want to be high tech.
I know. I enjoy not knowing anything about technology. I kind of wear it as a badge. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see here, just scrolling down. La, la, la. I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. It was a great day for this. Let's see here. No
Oh,
fear, no.
Sherry, I didn't mean for the show to get dark, Sherry. I just had to tell what the Talmud was. That's why I'm like, just Google it, guys. But it's important that we know what's out there. It really is.
I know. That's why I said, like, this probably threw a curveball talking about that stuff, was because, like, I never go down that road on this channel ever. And, like, I've talked to people about channels that pub fear, or that's all they talk about, because usually when channels do that and they're like, okay, so we've got this Pizzagate thing going on, goodbye, good luck with that. I'm like, okay, how do we solve this? We need to talk about this. So I'm not going to talk about that, but I talk about people, be careful with the channels you go on. If you're watching the channel and you're getting what I just got now, which was a high level of anxiety, as soon as we started talking about that, I felt,
yeah, me too.
I felt something choke me up and be like, you shouldn't be talking about this. This is not what you're about. So
that's what I did when you asked me about it. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I had no idea I was going to go down that road. So I apologize to my viewers, but we ended that.
Okay. We did not mean to offend anyone. We meant to educate. That's it. Just look it up.
It's very important, though, to just, you know, I don't know. There's so many important things to do. I'm listening to live streams. I sit in the back of a lot of these live streams. I don't say anything. And I see a lot of fear. I see a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, man, we're 2 years deep into this. Why are we still like this? And
yeah,
I'm just like, I don't think that part will ever end. So it's just like the trolls. You got to deal with it. You got to learn to work around it, adapt it, work with everybody. It could be really tough for a content creator, because a lot of people, when you see what we're used to when we're log on to a YouTube video or a show, is that we're used to professionalism to a T. We got that from documentaries like History Channel, all these other great documentaries, Hollywood and all this. So when you get people like me who do not know how to do anything but go, guys, I just watched South America Move and I have these great opinions. I know I want to share love. It's tough for us to stay on point all the time. And because we don't have a team behind us going, don't say this, don't say that. Oh, say it like this. Oh, dress like this, put this makeup on. And this is all pre-recorded, by the way. And don't you ever do live because you're not good enough. And I'm like, I'm going live. And I forgot to brush my teeth, comb my hair. I still got sleep in my eyes. You know, I'm wearing my pajamas. So it's a lot of times content creators and ourselves will lose it. We'll be like, oh shit, we shouldn't have talked about that. But it's a growing thing. So it's very tough to stay positive and on point all the time. And that's why it's easy for the trolls to shoot us down.
Yeah.
And I've went on someone's channel after they shot down Moneybags. And I went on there and I'm like, I left a simple comment like, how come you guys aren't picking on me? I'm like so easy to make fun of. Like I'm the easiest guy to shoot on. Why aren't you guys here doing this? It's so weird. And I think it's because when people, I think it's love. You know, I have no idea.
I've noticed that. I've noticed that Moneybags gets attacked all the time, and you know, I worked with him too on my first book. His Jiffy and Jiff research is in my book. I've spoken to him many times. I think we were in a live stream together on Taryn Lupo's channel, but he's really one of the first people that I ever saw because he had so many freaking videos, and I thought, wow, this guy's really dedicated. But if you're going to be out there dedicating yourself like that, you are going to be more under the radar and you are going to be more attacked. And so I think also because he's really a sensitive, good guy inside, that it hurts him when people attack him. So he often will defend himself. And when people defend themselves, then they get attacked more. And I used to defend myself too. And I found I got more attacked if I defend myself. So now I just don't even bother. I don't care what anyone thinks about me. You know, I am a leader, not a follower. So I just don't care what people think about me. I care what my kids think about me and my family. And that's it. You know, that's all that should matter. We shouldn't worry about what faceless people on YouTube say about us that aren't even real, that we don't know in real life. Everyone's going to have an opinion, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
La, 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 la. I'm just reading comments here, making sure I'm not missing anybody's. Lone Eagle is so innocent. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Oh, hold on.
I just see lots of love in here. I haven't seen so many direct questions, but so many people sending love. Hi, Rowdy One. Hi, Great Babe. Some of my favorite people. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, no direct questions. It's a lot of talk. What I love about these chat sections, people just keep themselves busy.
I see that. They just talk to each other. So great. I almost never even get a chance to look at the live stream chat because I'm so like nervous about doing it right, you know. It just looks like lots of love and a lot of support and a lot of people kind of backing up the things that we were talking about earlier. So we're not alone in this. It's just there's only a few of us that, you know, take the time to sit, or that we have the time to sit and hit record and get to the bottom of these topics and bring everybody together. But I'm sure that without all these subscribers and supporters, that I know I wouldn't have finished a book on Mandela effect. I know I wouldn't have so many other kind of contradictory ideas. I think it's good to challenge ideas. I can't ever see a Mandela and just take it because somebody else says it's a Mandela. You know, I really kind of listen to both sides of every story and try to, you know, listen to what everybody has to say. I think everybody's input is important. Plus, with the Mandela effect, if we are from multiple different realities, then there is no right and wrong, people. There is no right and wrong. It's what you remember from your reality and what I remember from mine. So the people that go, that's not right, this is wrong, you know, you're getting lost. You're missing the point, because that's the whole thing about Mandela, is that it used to be another way. So you're either from this one or that one, you know?
Yeah.
For real.
I've got this, I'm putting together a video. It's called, well, I don't have a title for it, but I'm trying to find like no spiritual leaders. And something I've noticed is that we've all been affected, and we're all here going, what the hell is going on? And I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, so the whole world has a whole bunch of religions, and each religion has what have you, a pastor, a priest, you know, a rabbi. I don't know all the proper terms. They have all these spiritual leaders that speak for that religion and say we are the one-way ticket to God or Jesus or to Muhammad or whoever. So I'm like, okay, cool. Mandela happens, but we don't see any spiritual leaders saying, hey guys, this is the next level we were talking about in church. Do you remember this? This Mandela effect is what we call rapture, or what other people would call it, whatever they call it. My thing is like, where are all these spiritual leaders that are supposedly, and I'm not making fun of them, but that are supposed to have this direct contact with God, or at least know more about the book than the person does that's listening to them? Where are all these priests? Like, how many churches are there all over the land, and where are all these priests saying, hey guys, this is it? You know what I mean? How come it's people like you, me, everybody in the video chat, but none of us are priests? I haven't seen it. You might be studying, be one. I don't know. I don't know everybody, but I've noticed there are no spiritual leaders that are affected, you know? And that says a lot about each and every single religion, not just any one particular. But I don't see any rabbis. I don't see any, like, I don't know the names of these people who are, you know what I mean? Like, for each one, but I don't see any spiritual leaders. The only spiritual leaders I find are us, people who are making videos, people who are talking on the comment section. That's
I've been an ordained minister since 2012, but I don't practice it. You know, I have everything I need. I have my certificate on the wall next to me, but I just felt that it wasn't something that I was called to do, to get up and lead people in that way. Some of the most deceptive people I feel are the heads of religion. And, you know, even before I was in the religion side of things, I was doing a lot of spiritual work, and then everybody would call me a guru, like, oh, you're my spiritual guru. You're my, you know, you're my go-to guru. And I'm just like, no, I don't want anybody to look up to me. I just want people to listen to the information that I'm trying to bring you. I try to be more of a messenger than anything. And I feel that probably that's why we don't see so many leaders stepping up that are affected, is because they're probably totally brainwashed by the order of whatever they're part of, because they've been told how to act, how to be, what to think, what to say. And even if they do see it, they're probably not allowed to say it, because it's going to make their whole order of wherever they're attached to look bad.
Yeah, but I believe for a fact that there are priests who see this. I'm just saying, if we were to count every single priest or ordained minister in the world or anything like that, all, if you were to count them, let's say there's 1 million altogether in all these churches, I would say only a handful see this and are talking about it. You know, like I do agree that there are people like, hey man, the guy at my church, he sees the Mandela. I'm like, there's very few. He's a very special priest. Then he must actually, be a cool dude inside. But why is, there are millions of these, it bothers me, millions of these spiritual leaders not saying the damn thing. I'm like, oh, they must not be studying their religion correctly, because there's people in the comments saying right now that, no, we know a priest. I'm like, well, he's probably studying it correctly then. You know what I mean? It's so weird. Yeah. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's a fact. I'm seeing that there's not many spiritual leaders leading us. It's us. It's normal people. No, I totally agree with you in indoctrination. Absolutely. You're told what to think, what to tell people, what to believe. And if you don't stick by that, then you're kicked out. It's like, you're not part of the club anymore. Bye. We don't need you anymore. We can't control you anymore. So those are what I call agents of influence. And that's a real term you can Google. And an agent of influence is somebody who is in a position of power that is told how to direct their audience based on a specific agenda that they have. So whether this be political, religious, media, celebrity, the news, there's a lot of people that are put into positions of power just to control the narrative. And so I think that's a lot of why we don't see people like that speaking up, because they're not allowed to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They got no balls.
The power of persuasion is tough here on earth, especially when a man is controlled,
Yeah, exactly. And it's like Dick just said in the chat too, how many religious texts have been altered to make us worship someone other than what we think they were worshiping. And that's so true. I had a video I made about a year or so ago where I got my hands on an old Freemason Bible, of their own Bible. And if you start reading the Freemason Bible, oh my goodness. So their whole belief, and any Freemason watching this will kill me for saying this, but I'm not a Freemason, so I'm not breaking any rules.
Yeah.
But on the beginning of their text, they essentially say that I think they call it like the Grand High Wizard of every Freemasonic lodge is Jesus Christ. So in their book, they believe that Jesus Christ is the leader of the Freemasons. And they also have a whole section in there where they call Jesus and Satan the same guy. So in their book, they believe that Lucifer and Satan, Jesus, God, they're all the same guy. And that's the big secret that they know over the rest of the lay people is, oh, really? The reason we're having everybody say, Hail Jesus, is because really he's Satan. Tee-hee-hee-hee, that's the big trick.
Yeah.
And this is what they believe. And anyone thinks that I'm lying, do some research. It's really hard to find these texts because Freemasons will die with their Bible in their, they'll put it in their casket so that people can't even see what they're actually reading. But most of the Freemason Bibles are actually King James Bibles that have been slightly altered. And they're almost essentially the same as the King James Bible, but they're slightly altered to have little hidden things mixed in them. It gets deeply into the hand signals and why they do like the different hand symbols and what they all mean. And this is all really, really, really old stuff. So if you really get into it, I mean, I feel like there is something much deeper that people don't even realize going on behind all of that even.
Yeah. No,
so I think we can't put our faith in a book.
I think those who are affected have a pretty good idea. I think it's the zombies that might, or the ones that are just going through it now, awakening, might have a hard time understanding that. When you throw me information like that, I'm not surprised at all. I'm just like, oh, really? That's great, because it doesn't seem to be working out for them. It's like, I really believe all the evil powers are failing, and I feel that the sign of Mandela is good. I don't like to use words like triumphing or like winning, because I'm not a competitive person, but, kicking some ass here. And I don't know, it's tough. And to learn these things now is a little disturbing. I'm a little thrown off, but I'm glad I learned what that was, the Babylonian tablet. Now, it's important for me to hear this stuff. And anybody else out there in the chat section that didn't know about it, and at least you know, because since it's very important to know your enemy, know the enemy, know their tricks, know their moves. As deadly as it sounds, that's why we didn't engage too much as soon as, you know. So man,
so it's very interesting and important to know what other people believe, because there are millions of these people reading the Talmud every day and practicing what they believe in those books and other books too. I didn't mean to just focus on that one as some level of attack. And again, I don't know everything and I don't have all the answers either. But if we're going to call ourselves experts in spirituality, or believe that we, you know, have a real love for these topics, then we really do need to know what other people believe. And we really do need to take the time to read what another person believes, because then we can help understand our fellow human being a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I was just reading Belinda's comment. She's like, we are not affected. Those who, wait, we are not affected. Those who don't see are. So
oh no, it's a flip-flop.
Yeah. Flippy floppy. All right, so man, like, let's see, what do you got going now? Because we're coming close to the end of the program here.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's getting so late in Norway. The sun's going down. It's been going down as we're talking. You know, the sun's down here. Really, what I'm doing is this week I'm going to be totally writing volume 2 of the Mandela Effect book. I haven't had a chance to write because of my psychology degree right now. But starting from Wednesday on, from these next like 2 months, I'm going to be writing every single day the volume 2 of the Mandela Effect book. And again, this is going to be book changes, cartoon changes, deaths. And then I'm going to try to get into like movies, pop culture, you know, probably a whole section dedicated to Star Wars and the million of changes that have been there. So really what I would really need help from people right now is to go to the GoFundMe campaign. They can go to my website, and on the books tab of my website, you can find a link to the GoFundMe page, or on any of my YouTube videos. If people can come in and donate any amount, literally $1, $5, $10, anything, and also send a little note with your donation and tell me if you have anything you'd like to add to the book. This whole first book was completely written by the community. And it's, you know, I've got everybody's names and like real comments in here, and whoever you were, I'm giving everybody credit so that we can prove this isn't just, I'm just some strange lady with a conspiracy theory. No, this is like thousands of people who are affected by this, if not millions at this point. And I just need people to send me your stories, send me your residual evidence. If you want to change your name and you want to be anonymous, that's fine too. But these books cannot be completed without the community. So if anybody can come and support me by sending a donation or sending me your own story, then hopefully I can get this book out definitely before the end of this year. And then we'll have not one, but 2 important pieces of research out there. It doesn't mean the Mandela Effect book may not change, because I can't control the changes, but at least I can know that I did my due diligence to get all of this research down in black and white for everybody. And so that our community has a little more, you know, organization to this whole thing.
Yeah. So you say you're focusing on Star Wars. What else are you going to be focusing on?
Pretty much all the pop culture changes, like anything to do with movie changes, book changes, like, you know, the titles of books, like Portrait of Dorian Gray versus The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Cool, man. I came across, I forgot watching that movie. That one's weird.
Yeah. So anything like, you know, in those categories to do with, and really anything at all, if any Mandela effects that I didn't cover in the first book. And again, all I covered were anatomy changes, astronomical changes, and Bible changes. So I've tipped just a little tip of the iceberg. So any stuff people sends my way, I will totally include it in the book. And I just want to get answers here and get all this research organized in a really easy to follow way. And so that we can, you know, try to figure this out a little bit more together. Because, you know, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what's causing it. But if we all keep getting together and sharing our stories, we will get closer to the truth.
Yeah, definitely. And baby steps, baby steps.
So, absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, listen, I guess I'll wrap up the show. Oh, wait, hold on. Creek Mary sneaking in with her donation again. She does that.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know. Thank you very much, Creek Mary 1. You didn't get away this time. 2 other live streams, you snuck by without me noticing that. I caught you this time. Thank you very much for that donation. And like she says, every penny helps, man. Every dollar, every $2, $5, it helps me. I generate about $200 a month from this channel, and believe me, it pays my phone bill, and I'm so grateful for you guys for doing that. So thank you very much, and believe us when we say this, every dollar counts. That's
it really does. And even making 200 a month, that's really good, Lone Eagle, because I get like 100 a year.
Really?
If people think we make money off of videos, you guys are wrong. It's definitely not about that at all. We really do need support, because research and editing and recording, this stuff takes a lot of time. And most of us do this out of our love for this work. So when you guys support us, it really, even if it's $2, $3, $4, $5, $1, it means a lot to us, because nobody else cares except for you guys.
It's true.
So
they care
we
so
really
much.
need your support, and we love all of you guys. I love everybody in the chat, and thanks to everybody who said hello. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to shout out everybody, but lots of really great, nice comments in here. So thanks for making me feel so welcome, everybody. And you too. Thank you for making me feel so welcome today, Lone Eagle.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for showing up. I noticed we have the same hairstyle.
I know, my hair is super long right now. Brother from another mother. That's you.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. All right. Did you want to close up with anything about yourself, or you want to say anything else?
You know, I think that's really it. It's just been really great. I just didn't have any focus today. I just wanted to sit and chat with you guys and just get out, you know, whatever information I could bring and let people know about this book, and thank people who were in book one. I see a lot of people whose comments are from book one were in the chat as well. So to see all these people after 2 years, and we're all still this great little community, it just melts my heart. And this whole topic, I never knew if after making one video about Mandela, if people would just laugh me off of YouTube, and it's turned into something that's completely changed my life. So I'm just really grateful for being part of this.
Yeah. All right.
For sure.
Well, Stasha, I'm sure I'm going to see you again. I'll have you on again, or maybe I'll come join your show. I should come join your show actually next time. You know, if you want to do that,
you should do that, because I hardly ever live stream. So it'd be great to have you come over to my channel as well. Anytime.
Yeah. Anytime you want to do that, just let me know. Give me like a week in advance so I can set it up, but definitely we'll do that. I'll have you on again sometime in the near future, probably when you're about to finish your book or something. We'll talk about that, and we'll see where you're at with that, and maybe get you some more information on that, some more contributions.
Sounds perfect, guys. So thanks so much, and sending love from Norway.
All right, so just stay on the line. I'll end the show here. We'll talk for a bit, and then we'll peace out.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Oh, wow, I just got another donation. Hey, rockin' it, Robin. Thank you very much. Heard you just said you're a new sub. Welcome to the jungle. Thank you very much. Much love to you guys. Listen, everybody, that was a great show. Everybody, I left links. I keep linking Stasha's webpage. Take a look at that. You could purchase her Kindle version, or the book, the paperback version of the 3 novels we just talked about. Books. Wow, that was a great show, man. Listen, I know we ruffled a feather or two there talking about the Babylonian thing. I did not know that was going to go there, but I apologize. Those topics I don't like to cover, but again, that's just an example of the cruel world we live in, and I needed to know that information. But believe you me, we will not be talking about those things in here. I did not know it was going to go there, so I thank Stasha very much for educating me on that. And yeah, guys, so we're back to our regular live streaming Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. This Friday, I'm trying to get a schedule. I'm trying to get a shift for the morning, so you'll know by Thursday if I'm going to be on Friday. But like I said, Mondays and Fridays are wishy-washy, but you could depend on me on Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Same Lone Eagle time, same Lone Eagle channel. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you so very much. I love you guys so very much. Thank you for the support, donations on everything. Oh, hold on, let me catch my breath. That was intense. In 10 minutes. All right. Okay, guys, so the show's over. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. You guys know how I am with these endings. I just drag them out. It's I got to work on these closures, but thank you very much, Stasha, for joining. We'll talk to you very shortly. Thank you, everybody else in the chat room, for joining. Thank you for making this happen, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I love you guys so very much. Love yourself. Love your neighbor. You've got to do that, man. All right? Choose love. Peace.